Good morning, students. In the last lecture, we studied certain deviation from Mendel's principle. And these deviations, they were discovered in the post-Mendelian era. Now, in that, we studied about 4 types of inheritance. And these inheritance, they were deviating from the ones that Mendel had postulated. In this, we studied about incomplete dominance. We studied about codominance. Then we studied about multiple allele and pleiotropy. And now in today's part, we will study about the chromosomes. We will study about its structure and function in a little detail. So starting with chromosomal theory of inheritance. Now in the year 1900, Mendel's work was published and it was recognized by the 3 scientists. And just after his work was published and then he got recognition and he got appreciation from people, in the year 1902, that is just 2 years after Mendel's experiment was published, the chromosomal theory of inheritance, it was given by 2 scientists. And the name of the scientists were Walter Sutton and Theodore Boveri. Now by this time, that is by the time of 1902, the microscopes were already discovered and the structure of cell and nucleus, it was already known. And people even knew and they even understood what is chromosome. So the chromosomes were also discovered. And then Sutton and Boveri, they interpreted Mendel's work from a different perspective. That is, they just interpreted his work, whatever work Mendel has done, in their own perspective. So now, let us try and understand these 2 points of views. That is one which was found from Mendel's finding and the other which Sutton and Boveri has given. So let us see the difference between the two. The first point is in the Mendel's finding that Mendel said that factors are in pairs, to which now we know it is genes. At that time Mendel used the term factors for it, and he said these factors are in pairs and they are responsible to carry heredity. Whereas Sutton and Boveri, they said that factors, to which we call as genes now, they are present on chromosomes, and these chromosomes are present in pairs, and the pair of chromosomes are known as homologous chromosomes. We have already studied what is homologous chromosome. So this was the difference between the 2 findings. In Mendel's finding, what did he say? That the factors are responsible to carry the heredity, and these factors that carry the heredity, they are in pairs. Whereas Sutton and Boveri, they said that the chromosomes are in pair and the factors or the genes that Mendel had discovered are on this chromosome that is carrying the heredity. So it was not of much difference. Then the next point that Mendel gave was that the alleles, they segregate or they separate at the time of gamete formation. So whenever there is gamete formation, the alleles, they separate or they segregate themselves independently. Whereas Sutton and Boveri, they said the same thing, but they said that these chromosomes also get separated. So the chromosomes also get separated at the time of gamete formation was said by Sutton and Boveri. And now we know that during meiosis, the homologous pair of chromosome, they are arranged in the equatorial plane. One of the pair, it gets pulled to one pole and the other pair, it gets pulled to the other pole. And that is how the chromosomal number, it reduces to half. So exactly the same thing was said by Sutton and Boveri, but the terms they used were different. Mendel used the term alleles that get separated, and Sutton and Boveri, they said that the chromosomes get separated and the alleles are present on this chromosome. Then the third finding of Mendel, it said that these factors or alleles, you can say, or you can even say genes, they assort themselves independently. So this we have already studied when we were studying the law of assortment by Mendel. Just to revise it again, for example, there are two genes, capital A small a, capital B small b. Now, A, it can go with B, or this capital A can even go with the small b. So they can just assort themselves independently. The capital A, it can go with capital B, or the capital A can also go with small b. So this was Mendel's finding, that he said that these alleles, they assort themselves independently. Whereas Sutton and Boveri, they said chromosomes also assort themselves independently. So what did they explain was that suppose there is this one homologous pair of chromosomes that is moving in opposite directions or opposite side, and there is this another homologous chromosome having B, capital B and small b genes. So the first homologous chromosome, it is having capital A and small a as their genes, whereas the second homologous pair of chromosome, they are having capital B and small b as their genes. Now when we talk of assortment, this capital A gene, it can go with the capital B, or the capital A can also go with the recessive B, that is the small b. So again, it exactly means the same what Mendel had said. But here, Sutton and Boveri, they use the term chromosomes get assorted. So why is this difference? Now whatever Mendel had said was the same as it was said by Sutton and Boveri. The only difference was Mendel was talking about some small structure that he was referring to as factors, which we now know that they are genes. And no one paid attention to it because all of this, all the findings, it did not have any physical evidence to it. But once the chromosomal structure was identified, it was discovered, and it was identified by the people knew that this is where the genes or the factors are placed. And during the cell division, the chromosomal movement was also observed. So this modified version made its impact on people. So then it was said and it was known that the chromosomes are the one that carry the genes from one generation to another, and they are responsible for inheritance. And hence, this whole theory is known as chromosomal theory of inheritance. Now, further, let us study what are chromosomes in detail. So, chromosome, they are filamentous bodies and they are present in eukaryotic nucleus, that is in the cells of eukaryotic organisms. Now this term chromosome, it was coined by a scientist, and the name of the scientist was W. Walder. He discovered this chromosome in the year 1888. So he is the scientist who discovered the chromosome. Now the size of the chromosome, it varies from species to species. And it varies from 0.1 to 3.3 micrometers or mu meters in length, and 0.2 to 2 mu meters in its thickness. And these chromosomes, they play a vital role in heredity, in mutation and variation. And they are known as the key factor in the evolutionary development of eukaryotic species. Now chemically, the chromosomes, they are made up of three things. They are made up of DNA, histone and non-histone proteins. And the function of chromosomes are to carry heredity. That is, passing of the traits or the characters, you can say, from parents to offsprings. And that is how the offspring cells, they acquire the genetic information given to them from their parents. Now next, let us study about the number of chromosomes. So the number of chromosome is a specific thing, or it is a constant thing in particular species. Now the term ploidy, it refers to the number of sets of chromosome in a cell of an organism. That is, it speaks of the degree of repetition of a primary basic number of chromosome in a cell. Now if a chromosomal number in a cell is the exact multiple of that primary basic number, then it is known as euploidy. Now let us study about euploidy. Now this means that in a cell it has one or it has more than one complete set of chromosomes. So if one set of chromosome is present, it is known as monoploidy, when there is only one set of chromosome present. If there are two sets of chromosome present, it is called as diploidy. Then same like that, if there are three sets of chromosome which are present, it is known as triploidy, then tetraploidy, and so on. So there are three types of euploidy: monoploidy, diploidy, and polyploidy. So if there is one set of chromosome, or if there are two sets of chromosome, or if there are more than two sets of chromosomes in a particular individual cell, it is known as euploidy. And this euploidy is differentiated into three. Now, the next term just opposite to euploidy is known as annuloploidy. Now let us see what is annuloploidy. Annuloploidy, now what happens is, when a chromosome number is not the exact multiple, then it is known as, the term is known as annuloploidy. See, in euploidy, what was the case? That the chromosomes are in exact multiples. Okay, there are sets of chromosome. Now if there are no sets of chromosomes, the condition is called as aneuploidy. And aneuploidy is either addition or they are deletion of one or more than one chromosomes. Now, so whatever the total number of chromosomes are present in the cell of an organism, if there is addition to it or if there is deletion to it, the condition is known as annuloploidy. And this is further divided into two types: hypoploidy and hyperploidy. When we say hypoploidy, there is deletion, and in hyperploidy there is addition. So hypoploidy is further divided into two categories: monosomy and nullisomy. So if there is deletion by one chromosome, then the condition is called monosomy, and if there is two deletion of chromosomes, then it is nullisomy. Then now if you see over here, if two chromosomes are present, two sets of chromosomes are present, and one is deleted, only one is present then, so the condition is called monosomy. And if two sets of chromosomes are present and all of it is deleted, no chromosome is left, then the condition is called nullisomy. Talking about hyperploidy, hyperploidy is addition of chromosome. So if two chromosomes are present and one is added, then the condition is called trisomy. And if two chromosomes are present and two more are added to it, the condition is called tetrasomy. So this is the whole concept of the number of chromosome. Let us just revise it again. So the number of chromosome or the set of chromosomes, for that the term is given ploidy. So the term ploidy, it refers to the number of sets of chromosome in the cell of an organism. Now this ploidy can be of two types: It can be either euploidy or it can be aneuploidy. So euploidy, it means that in a cell it has one or it has more than one complete set of chromosomes, and aneuploidy, it means that if the chromosome is not having exact multiples of this set of chromosomes. Euploidy is further divided into three parts. Monoploidy, that is one set of chromosome. If there are two sets of chromosome, it is known as diploidy. And if it is more than two sets of chromosome, the condition is called as polyploidy. Whereas aneuploidy, in this, it is divided into two parts. Hypoploidy, when there is deletion of chromosomes, it is called as hypoploidy. And when there is addition of chromosomes, it is known as hyperploidy. Hypoploidy is further divided into two parts. If there is deletion of one chromosome, the condition is called monosomy. If there is deletion of two chromosomes, that is nothing is left, then the condition is called as nullisomy. In hyperploidy, there are again two parts. If there is addition of one chromosome to a pair of chromosome, or you can say a set of chromosome, then the condition is called trisomy. And if there is addition of two chromosomes to a set of chromosome, then the condition is known as tetrasomy. So this is the whole concept of the number of chromosomes. After this, let us now study the structure of the chromosome. So now if we enlarge this chromosome, what are all are the visible things to us? There is this primary constrictor which is present, and there will be two elongated arms. Okay, to this primary constrictor there will be two elongated arms. So these arms, they are known as chromatids, and the primary constrictor, they are known as the centromere. Now, to this primary constriction, there is a layer surrounding it which is known as kinetochore, and this is the structure of which the spindle fibers get attached to when the chromosomes are separated. So what you can see is there is a primary constrictor which is also known as centromere. Then there are two arms on either side. The two long arms, they are known as the chromatids. And in this primary constrictor, there is a layer that is surrounding this primary constrictor which is known as kinetochore. And this is the structure where the spindle fibers are attached when this chromosome is separated. Now, the membrane of the chromosome, it is made up of proteins which is known as pellicle, and inside there is this matrix, and this matrix is known as chromoplasm. So the matrix that is present inside the chromosome, they are known as chromoplasm. Inside these arms, that is inside the chromatids, there are DNAs present. So inside the arms we find these thread-like structures. As you can see here also, there are these thread-like structures, and these thread-like structures are known as chromonema or chromonemata. Chromonema or chromonemata, they are these thread-like structures containing the DNA part. So when we enlarge the chromonemata or chromonema, we see bead-like structures, they are arranged on this chromonema. So it is just a thread-like structures on which at intervals there is this bead-like structures, and the bead-like structures are known as nucleosomes. So we'll study later what are nucleosomes. For now this chromatids, that is the arms, it consists of these double-stranded DNA molecules extended from one end of the chromosome to the other end of the chromosome. And depending upon the position of this centromere, the chromosomes are of various types. So depending upon the shape, they are of various types. They can be acrocentric, that is this, which is called the J-shaped. So J-shaped chromosome is known as acrocentric chromosome, or it can be telocentric, or you can say the I-shaped chromosome. So the I-shaped chromosomes are known as telocentric. Then there is submetacentric, which is L-shaped. So the L-shaped chromosome is called as submetacentric chromosome. And the last one is metacentric chromosome, that is V-shape. And the end of this chromosome, the end of the chromatid you can say rather, is known as telomere. So there are 4 types of chromosomes, and these types of chromosome, they depend upon the shape of the chromosome and the placing of this centromere. It can be metacentric or V-shape, it can be submetacentric or L-shape, it can be acrocentric or J-shaped, or telocentric, that is I-shaped. Now next, let us talk about the sex chromosomes. So the chromosomes which are responsible for the determination of sex are known as sex chromosomes. And these sex chromosomes, they are also known as allosomes. Now human beings or other mammals, they have X or Y chromosomes which are known as sex chromosomes. So there are 2 types of sex chromosomes in all the mammals, including human beings. It is either X chromosome or it is either Y chromosome. Now let us see the structure of these 2 types, that is the X and the Y chromosome, in detail. So the X chromosome is straight, rod-like and long. The X chromosome are metacentric in shape. So this is the long rod-like chromosome, that is X chromosome. Y chromosome, it is short and it is acrocentric in nature. Now the X chromosome, they have large amount of euchromatin. Now what is euchromatin? Euchromatin, it is the region which represents major genes, and it has very small amount of heterochromatin. What is heterochromatin? Heterochromatin, that is highly condensed region. Now in this region, the activity of the gene is suppressed. So you can say in euchromatin region, it has large amount of DNA material, and hence that region is considered to be active. And heterochromatin is the region where it is highly suppressed and highly condensed. So the activity, the genetic activity, is very less. Whereas in Y chromosome, it has small amount of euchromatin, that is less active genetic region, whereas the heterochromatin region over here is large. So this condensed region is more in Y chromosome, and the euchromatic region, that is the active gene region, is less. So that is the reason the Y chromosome, it is considered to be genetically inactive, and the X chromosome, it is considered to be genetically very active. Now both the X and the Y chromosome, it has a homologous region and it has a non-homologous region. So as you can see, there is this non-homologous region which is completely different from each other, and that is how it is called as non-homologous region. And the homologous region is completely similar to each other, so that is how the name is given, the homologous region. Now this homologous region of both the chromosomes shows similar genes, whereas the non-homologous region shows dissimilar genes. And the crossing over between the X and the Y chromosome, it takes place in this homologous region. It does not take place in the non-homologous region. And the non-homologous region of the X chromosome, that is this region, is longer as compared to the Y. As you can, it is very well visible. And this region, it contains more genes than that the non-homologous chromosome of the non-homologous region of the Y chromosome. So this is very obvious because this is a longer region, that is the non-homologous region of the X chromosome is longer. It will contain more genes, and The non-homologous region of the Y chromosome is shorter, and that is how it contains less genes. So students, this was all about the chromosome, its structure, and we also studied about the sex chromosomes, that is allosomes. Further, in the next part, we will be studying about linkage and crossing over and different aspects related to linkage, such as sex linkage, and then in crossing over, uh, we will study different aspects related to crossing over.